Outlander, Blood of My Blood occasionally produces an episode that is unable to slow down. One of those episodes was Outlander, Blood of My Blood Season 1 Episode 7, which threw romance, treachery, politics, and heartbreak into one pot and allowed it to boil over. The end effect was a narrative that ultimately united the various strands while driving the protagonists into unavoidable destruction. Ellen Mackenzie was, of course, the focal point. Ellen has always been known for her ability to step in and lead when the men around her falter, but this strength frequently verges on recklessness. She had been cleaning up Dougal's mess since the premiere, so it wasn't shocking that she followed him to Nairn Castle. However, it was more difficult to accept her decision to publicly embrace Brian. Murtaugh was fuming, Malcolm was all but present, and the air was heavy with Jacobite conspirators. The timing seems ridiculous, but it's easy to understand given Brian and Ellen's devotion. In a way that reduces reason to ashes, they are consumed by each other. Would you resist if you thought you might never see your true love again? Is Outlander, Blood of My Blood a mistake for Ellen? The fact that Ellen and Malcolm are involved just serves to highlight how serious the situation is. Malcolm stands for responsibility, stability, and a union that could lift the Mackenzies during a period when their riches are faltering, even though Brian may be her heart's desire. There is an obvious difference between the two men. Malcolm is the safe political match, while Brian is the embodiment of enthusiasm. Ellen's decision to balance both seems less contradictory and more like a reflection of the predicament she finds herself in. Nevertheless, it seemed unsustainable to watch her cling to Brian while comforting Malcolm. She might lose both if the delicate balancing act fails one day. There was betrayal simmering around Ellen. The kind of clumsy, angry honesty that wrenches a narrative loose was Murtaugh's scream at Brian. Although we've always known he loved Ellen, witnessing that clash with the fact that she had an affair with Brian stoked long-simmering animosity. However, Dougal's Jacobite cunning once again demonstrated his incapacity to see past his principles, putting the family in jeopardy while pursuing a cause. And Balloch, ever the opportunist, chose the ideal time to divulge information. This was a necessary conflict that ultimately brought the conflicting interests of all these characters to the fore. It wasn't melodrama for the sake of melodrama. Another act of brutality that served as a reminder to viewers of the limited agency women had in this world was the virtue test that was threatened against Ellen. If you've seen the original Outlander, you won't be surprised to see Ellen confront the prospect of being inspected like property, but it was nonetheless unsettling. Ellen ought to double-check Dougal and Colum. Her reputation is closely linked to her brother's influence, as evidenced by their willingness to allow it to happen. Even though Ellen is fearless, the systems put in place to govern her are too strong for her. Julia's plot was by no means fluff, but Ellen's storyline took up the majority of the hour. Instead of serving as a diversion from the main action, her marriage to Lord Lovat ran parallel to it in a significant sense. The plot by Julia and Davina to stifle Lord Lovat's libido was almost darkly humorous, but it also conveyed a sense of desperation. Julia's predicament was more empathetic than ever because of her anxieties about climax and her desire to find a way out. Her entire storyline was strengthened when she finally found the letter proving her husband is still alive and much closer than she had previously believed. This wasn't Julia taking Ellen's screen time, rather, it was Julia's story finally clashing with Ellen's in terms of significance and tone. This week's antagonists were a diverse but potent group. As the string puller, Lord Lovat demonstrated his satisfaction in controlling events from the background. Balloch was a direct threat because to his aggression and opportunism, he was pure muscle. Then there was Dougal, whose carelessness has become almost comical. His incapacity to restrain his urges could potentially bring everyone else down with him, as he is a guy who is only one mistake away from death. These men, each dangerous in their own way, created a powerful opposing triangle. The episode's tempo was what made it stand out. The program has far too frequently relied on slow burns and flashbacks, but this episode went quickly. At last, Julia gets a break. There was no space for filler after the Jacobite gathering, the arrests, the almost public revelation of Ellen's affair, and Julia's unannounced marriage. The plots came together at the ideal moment, demonstrating that Outlander, Blood of My Blood works best when it moves ahead rather than going back and forth. The stage was prepared for explosive fallout by the time the dust settled. Too many people are now aware of Ellen and Brian's affair, so it is no longer a secret kept in whispers. Because of her discoveries, Julia's marriage is now more problematic than before. Additionally, Dougal's Jacobite cause poses a threat to the Mackenzies' entire stability. This was neither table-setting nor wheel-spinning. The storm was just getting started. Although it wasn't the most surprising turn of events, the final scene in which Julia finds out her husband is still alive had a powerful impact. It was powerful to witness that hope rekindled Julia's growing despair. Ellen's own circumstances worsened in the meantime, putting her family, her love, and her morals in danger. The series has reached a pivotal moment. With its plots coming together and the stakes rising, the program has finally narrowed its focus.